What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia sitting on the couch, making some money investing in fractional real estate online, as usual. The other day, I shared with you all of my disappointments as far as fractional real estate go in the 2025 calendar year. One of the things I wanted to talk about today is just what am I actually looking forward to in the space, right? Sometimes it's fun to be real negative about a bunch of different stuff. It's clearly a space with, a ton of potential, new entrants relatively regularly. Although, as with all the new sites I was discovering early on, I think made it seem like there was way more people entering the space, and it was just like I was just getting access to them. But there are tons of people out there talking about creating some platforms, and so some of that stuff I think is pretty exciting. But even with the platforms that exist, I think there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to. I think this will probably be my last video for the year, so I wanted to end with sort of a positive outlook. Like, okay, what are we looking for? What are the things I'm excited about? What are the things that I hope for? And sort of get that. I'm interested to hear what else other people are looking forward to in this space. One of the things, I hear a lot of people are like, oh, this space could 10x, could 100x, which I agree with. I think it will grow drastically. But one of the things I want to think about is like, what does that mean for us as investors, right? Just because the space is growing very fast or has the potential to grow a lot, that's only good for us if the investments do well or if we invest in the companies themselves. Now, some of the companies have opened up investment in their company. Many of them, I think almost all of them, if you wanted to and you had a big enough chunk, you'd be able to buy a piece in some way. But I think, for me, that's not what I'm really interested in. If I wanted to invest in companies, I'd be a stock market investor, right? But getting access to better and better deals is what I think is going to be the benefit for us. So where are we going to see those, right? And what else am I looking forward to? So one, sorry about that. Still just not doing awesome. You can probably tell by the way I'm talking. But the Arrived is one that I've still not been interested in any of their newly listed deals, right? Whenever I click on their new deals, like, for example, this one, and I click into, okay, let's look at the financials. And what am I getting on? Okay, 3.9% annual cash flow. Like, that's just not exciting, right? But I am looking forward to their secondary market further developing. With appropriate discounts, deals like this could make a lot of sense to me, right? And so that's one of the things. There's a lot of platforms where I think a more robust secondary market is what's going to be really interesting for investors like us who are just trying to spend a little bit more time, do a little bit more work, make some extra money. Maybe there are people that are perfectly happy. Well, I mean, clearly there are a lot of people who are perfectly happy buying into this deal, getting what in my mind is a very small dividend, but really in the stock market wouldn't be a terrible dividend, and then hoping that they're making most of their returns at some point in time in the future when the property sells. That's a tough sell for me, but I think they've done a great job with their secondary market. And so hopefully as it gets, each iteration of it, because they're doing it, I think, once a quarter, hopefully we get better and better deals. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. One of the disappointments I had mentioned was that the referral program is still not live. I was going back because I had a little bit of a discussion in Discord with Jerry about this, and he did actually mention that it should be live by the end of the year. So, and then it's going to be $100 that you're going to be able to give $100 and get $100. So I'm looking forward to using that starting 2 days from now, apparently. My guess is this is going to end up going on my list of disappointments again. But hopefully I'm wrong. I'd really like to see this come out and be working tomorrow, because he said end of year. But even if it's early next year, that's something to look forward to, right? I think I'm not sending a lot of people Lofty's way, but for the people who really want to get their hands dirty and take charge of properties. I mean, there is a lot of benefit to it. It's just, it scares me to send the average investor this way. Now I'm really looking forward to Leclerc paying out. Apparently, trading froze on it today, or actually yesterday, I think. Trading froze on it yesterday based on the discussion in the Discord, which to me is a good sign that that's going to get paid out. We'll see. You can see a lot of the disappointments also are things that I'm looking forward to, right? Looking forward to those things changing. So, and the Solslot's no different, right? They had a couple, the Jenkins and White Bluff, that should be redeemed, and it was disappointing it hasn't been yet. I'm looking forward to those ones getting redeemed next month. But also, Matt mentioned in his Discord that Coach Drive should be redeeming this month as well. So that'll leave me with only one DAC, just Rangoon Street. I'm really looking forward to them putting out more product like this product, right? I think that probably their big project is just distracting at the moment. But hopefully they get a lot more of this bread and butter stuff, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm hopeful that that's the case. We'll see if it is, though. I don't know. The other one that's really the last part of this year has changed my mind quite a bit is ARC 7, right? I mean, I spent the first half of the year just saying, yep, I keep looking at these deals. They never seem to have anything that's worth buying on their marketplace. They're just never getting good enough discounts. And all of a sudden, and I don't know if you know this, I think I've pointed this out. If you click on this little button, it shows their change since their IPO. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see. And so and you look at what their last trade is. Okay, so this is a 26%. This one actually traded at a 26% discount to their IPO. Again, that's not always a discount to real world value, but because some of these have had really deep discounts now, I'm excited about jumping into some of them, and I have some open orders for some. So we'll see. Oh, before I forget, please like and subscribe. In the description to this video, I have links to all the places where I'm currently investing in fractional real estate online. Please feel free to use those links, but do your own due diligence. They don't all work the way that they say they're going to on the surface. So do your own due diligence on those platforms and on the properties themselves. Just because I'm buying into something or I provide a link to a site that I've invested on doesn't mean that I'm saying that you should. You really want to think about your own individual situation, do your own due diligence. Also, in the description of this video, I have a link set up to a Discord that I created where we're just talking about fractional real estate on a regular basis. There's about 200 of us in there. Lots of good discussions about Mogul, Ground Floor, Lofty, Arrived, a little bit of ARC 7, some on Solslot, and just a lot of random other investing stuff too. So please feel free to join that. No cost. It's not a sales funnel, and I try to kick the spammers out whenever I see them. All right, back to this. So I'm looking forward to ARC 7, their secondary market just continuing to get better. It does worry me a little bit, right? Because as their discounts get deeper and deeper, what does that mean for the platform itself, right? And that's one of the things, and I mean that we see across the board, and I think that's my next one, right? So Lofty's average token price, $32 and change, which means that's 36% roughly discount from their original, what their par value is. Is that right? 18, yeah, 30. That's terrible, right? But I look forward to more deals on this platform where there's these just very deep discounts. But, it is, you've obviously heard me struggle with this lots of times before, right? I know when I'm getting a deal, it's almost always because somebody else lost some money, right? If I'm buying it at 32, at some point somebody bought it at 50. Sometimes there's some exceptions to this now. So we're seeing some of the original sellers sell at quite a bit of a discount. So for example, 9 Country Club Lane, I've bought a bunch of tokens from that at $25, and I believe the most recent seller at that price point is the original co-owner. So in that sense, another Lofty user hasn't lost money. Somebody might be, he might be selling onto the platform for less than he'd want to. But I actually think that that's sort of a much more fair situation, right? Okay, he's looking for the liquidity. Lofty's providing that, and it's not as if somebody bought his investment. It's not going well, and is now having to sell it for a discount, right? So I think it's a little bit different. But that's one of the things I wanted to say. I really am. The best thing that I've gotten from Lofty is all of the networking, right? I've met a lot of other investors, that some of which have moved to other platforms, some of which have decided, hey, we're not going to do fractional at all anymore, right? And I think that's fair, but I think I'm looking forward to meeting more of the people who are, on the platform, really looking to, maybe not so interested or excited about the trading aspect of it, right? Because that's one of the things that I think has really hurt Lofty, is the people who remain that are doing well are, for the most part, just traders. That's where I'm making most of the money that I'm making on the site, right? I'm buying tokens, selling them when they pop, or buying them, moving to sell it in real life, so more like arbitrage. But there are the subset of people making money on Lofty who are buying for long-term holds. It's a much smaller group, at least that have actually realized their profits. Now, I know, like Earl likes to say this a lot, like, well, no, you already made your money. You're just buying these really cheap ones. You just have to hold it until you realize it. And I think, to a certain extent, I agree with that logic. But if there's no clear path to realizing that profit, then is it real profit, right? Like, if we're going to just be stuck with it. So it just depends on, well, what's your future hope for that platform? This particular one being Lofty. Obviously, thinking about things we'd be hopeful of, I'd love to see them really turn things around, change the attitude as far as the way that they deal with feedback, and, as far as like also on what to focus on and priorities, and how they handle problems and stuff. I don't honestly believe that will happen. But what I do think we'll start to see is more and more individuals coming through. And this is one of the things, so we saw S&P Property Management, just two people that are investors on the platform. I don't think any of them ever thought they were, either of them thought they were going to get into the property management business. But they have just started taking over some properties, really to, I think, take care of their own investments on the platform, right? I think that's the goal, is like to, create a situation where they can have greater control over certain deals. But I really am hopeful that they're going to do well, because they've taken a very measured approach, right? They started, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, but they've only picked up 4 deals. And people have asked them, hey, can you take this one? Can you take that one? And they said, no, you know what? We're just going to try to go slow. So I'm really hopeful to see, one, how they do, right? Like, I think that I'm invested in 2 of the 4 that they're managing. But also, I'm looking forward to more people from the ecosystem stepping up and doing this, right? I think that that's really what we need. If Lofty's going to work, it's not going to be from their own efforts. They're determined to have their sphere of responsibility be so tiny that they can basically blame just about everything on somebody else. And so, maybe the ecosystem still works if enough people like S&P show up, and like Earl has been all along, and M1. Like Waylick tried, I've got Waylick on here because, I am still looking forward to his redemption arc, right? I think that there's a chance still that he comes through and becomes a great manager on the platform again, just like he was when he just had a couple of properties. But I think, if Lofty were ever going to work at scale, you would need literally thousands of these people. And so I think that's partially why I think okay, maybe it's a broken system if the goal is to get to scale. But if it is, especially because like, okay, I have to do due diligence on who these managers are, right? So if I want to try to get a number of investments and the ones that are doing a good job are, have a very concentrated portfolio, that becomes difficult. But anyway, if, I think that there's like another path forward where the platform just ends up kind of getting used for, raising capital for quasi-public deals, right? Like they're really mostly private. It's the kind of like, if you've been paying attention, like the Quitman deal that Earl's working on with several other members, Lofty investors, but they're doing it off the platform. They're planning to bring it on there. Using it in a way like that, or I think Lofty has this private label. I can see in that scenario a lot of the downsides to Lofty kind of go away, because okay, their governance doesn't really work well at all. Well, that doesn't really matter if there's 8 of us that are using the platform, right? Now, my pushback whenever people have brought this up was like, well, what do we really need Lofty to do there then, right? All they're doing at that point is like making it easy for us to trade shares back and forth, but do we really need to do that a whole bunch? And then handling some of the accounting for the payouts, which again, it's really not tough math, for me to pay out rent each month. So, that's one of the things I've kind of, obviously, I said I was going to stick with a positive tone, right? But I do still think that there's some use for it in that manner. And if nothing else, what I see as like really the benefit is it's become a really good playground or training ground for new investors. So like there's a lot of guys in the Discord right now who have volunteered to help interact with tenants, who have volunteered to work with vendors, who've done a lot of the things that, like, when you buy your first investment property in real life, you're all of a sudden thrown into having to do 100% of everything with that property. And yes, you can hire a property manager, but then you're responsible for your interface with them and making sure they're doing the right things. And so Lofty to me has become an interesting training ground for people who, okay, maybe they're just getting their feet wet, right? They didn't have to buy it all at once. So instead of just getting the fractional ownership, they're also getting that like fractional training and experience that you get from owning properties. I think, like, for example, these two guys, they could easily just go raise some money, invest in their own deals, and for why they stick around here, I don't know. Maybe because it's the clearest path to pick up some other investors, and that might be true. Although, again, if we look at like the average token price and the liquidity, there's not a ton of money being thrown around on Lofty right now. But like I said, we're sticking with positive stuff. There is a ton of money still right now for fractional real estate. So this is Mogul site, right? And I don't know how much they update this, but 1.26 million invested on Mogul in the last month. That seems accurate to me, because it might even be, that's why I wonder how often they update it. It's because it seems low, right? I mean, they've had just property after property sell out. They've just really shown that if you have a quality deal, and quality can be lower quality than what I define as quality, right? I've passed on a ton of their deals that have sold out quickly. And I don't think that they're necessarily bad deals. Like, if you think about it, I've been passing on their deals because I'm like, it's a 8% yield. Well, okay, that's double this Arrive deal, right? It's double the yield that we saw on this deal earlier. And I'm saying like, well, it's kind of disappointing. Or, when I've had it dip, I think, had it dip to 6% on some properties, like, oh, it's terrible. Well, okay, no, it's not terrible. It's just they had set a really high bar initially. So, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Mogul does going forward, but also what, they've got some big stuff coming up this year. They've got multifamily properties coming, as far as, what they've said in their webinar. I'm excited about that. and they've got their secondary market. And I think that the most recent guidance on that is it's going to be the second quarter of 2026, and towards the end of the second quarter of 2026. I'm not 100% sure that's accurate. The reason I'm so excited about that is because they've done a lot well so far, and they have a decent number of properties that people are still happy with, right? Like, I've bought properties from them that if those, if the ability to buy some of them on the secondary market comes up, I will pay at least what I paid, and some of them I'd pay more, right? So, for example, the roads, I'd pay more than I paid for my initial. I'm not a ton more, but I'm not going to need it to be a 10 or 20% discount for me to buy those. Now, some of them I would, right? Like, I will probably, some of the short-term rentals, maybe I would want a discount to buy some of them, but not, it wouldn't have to be huge for me to be really excited about some of those deals either, right? Because they started off as better deals. And so that's, I think, out of everything that I'm excited about in fractional real estate for next year, at least that I know of, because there's some unknowns, right? Like, I'm excited. I'm also excited about what else could be coming, right? There's every week somebody new mentions starting a new platform, getting into the space, doing something. So a lot of the people that talk to me about it, I think, are just never really going to do anything. But some of you, I think, are really going to do something in the space, right? And so that's exciting. But of all the things that I know that are planned for this year, Mogul secondary market, I think is the most exciting, because if they can get that right, if they can turn it on and people go in and buy, and it's a mixed market, right? But a good number of those things, like if I can buy, I'm trying to think of my best ones, but like, I think the Andres or the Mafi or a lot of the Atlanta, a lot of the Atlanta pad splits. If I can get those, I'd probably pay up a little bit. Nothing huge. It hasn't been a long time, but and I don't have any that I'm really like, oh, I'm going to dump those. I am looking forward to the resolution of the WAGs. Somebody mentioned that as far as like big disappointments, and I think that it is. Obviously, if you put a lot of money into that particular property, I would be disappointed as well. But it is just a title claim that I think will just get resolved. But in general, there's not a ton that I'm like, oh, I'm just going to dump this. There's some that I would think about it, if I could get out, for what I put in, and I could reinvest and see some of the others I'm happier with. Yeah, that might be exciting. But overall, seeing how they handle this it's going to be, I think, it's going to really set the tone for how well the platform does going forward, right? Like, you can see, like, it's hurt a lot of the other platforms once the secondary market comes out. If people are dumping onto it, then the new sales, like we've seen this on Arrived and we've seen this on Arc 7, that new sales slow down because people are like, well, wait a minute, I can buy discounts versus versus buying, the IPOs, which are unproven and are very likely going to be discounted in 3 months or whatever. And so, on Lofty, it's just really a lot of recent deals that were listed just never sold out or only started to sell at pretty big discounts. So where Mogul definitely has just a ton of capital being thrown at it right now, it'll be interesting to see, like, if they can pull off a secondary market that doesn't tank their primary market and that actually, creates a positive experience for investors who are looking to exit. Now, I don't think it should be, I wouldn't even mind if it cost me something to exit, right? Because the goal shouldn't be to exit these properties, right? They should be long-term holds. I'm not expecting to make money on a year hold on here. But I don't think that means I should have to sell for a 36% discount if I want out, right? Anyway, that's what I'm really most excited about coming up into the next year. that, and obviously, just continuing to grow the community. I really appreciate everybody who like gets in there, shares stuff, helps with due diligence. Even all the silliness that goes on there, I enjoy quite a bit. A lot of the songs that get posted and whatnot. Looking forward to a whole bunch more of that. And yeah, but hopefully, like just that we all keep making money, right? And that maybe, I'm hopeful that we've all, as a community, learned a lot of lessons and aren't going to be sticking money into stuff where where it's just getting torched, right? I mean, I think it's pretty nice. We didn't see, Landa's from 2 years ago now, right? We didn't see a Landa event this year. Now the Cal stuff and the Brownfield stuff and all of that might have felt pretty close on Lofty, but Lofty didn't go under, Real Bricks didn't go under, Arrive didn't go under, Arc 7 didn't. None of the ones that I've put money on have actually just frozen trading and saying, okay, no more doing anything on this platform. And so that's exciting, right? So anyway, I think that's really everything for today. That's all the stuff. But yeah, share what you're most excited about the fractional real estate front, whether it's a new platform, new features that you're looking forward to. I know some people are probably really excited about the lending on Lofty. I think that's going to be a good time to get out. Like there'll be more capital on the platform, so maybe that'll bump token prices, and I'll be able to exit more of those deals. I'm not sure I really want to, take loans tied to that platform. But anyway, staying positive. Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you're excited about in the fractional real estate space for next year. And until next year, so Happy New Year. I'm going to keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.